welcome to the Financial Freedom Mastermind Group podcast. Here we're all about breaking free from the 40 to 50 year work grind and accelerating our journey towards financial freedom. Join us every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern as we explore different types of investments that can fast track your path to financial independence. We serve as a hub for connecting with fellow members during our sessions so you can share successes, ask questions, and keep the momentum going.
Good evening, everyone. This is Niyi Adewale, host of the Ekabo Home Financial Freedom Mastermind podcast, and I'm excited to join you on June 7th for our open session Mastermind. And each of these sessions, I like to start off with kind of a topic or a word for that night. And I can tell you that the word for the night, or really sentence, is that you need to build a financial fortress to where you can pull from a lot of different areas, if need be, to make something happen. And it's funny because we just had a conversation a couple weeks ago where we were talking about where can you invest 100K, both in real estate and outside of it. And there was a lot of great suggestions for maximizing your money so that you can have different areas to pull from. And I can tell you that on top of that, a deal is never closed until it's fully closed, right? Until it's fully done, keys are in your hand, and everybody signed off. Over the last week, there's been two things that have happened. One, on a deal that I'm personally closing on, and two, both of them are personal, and two, one that I'm selling as well. So a deal that I'm selling in Kentucky was supposed to close today, and it actually is going to not close for a couple weeks. Reason being, the buyer committed a cardinal sin within the real estate world of borrowing funds that were supposed to be used for the down payment and using it as a gift, which is not allowed for an investor paid loan that's going to go conventional. And so that piece was found out maybe just a couple of days ago. And it started a bit of a domino effect because the money that I was going to use for a down payment for the fourplex that I'm supposed to close on late this week, which is probably not going to happen until next week, was going to come from that deal. Now, thankfully and luckily, I do have a bunch of other areas that I can pull from. It just makes it a little bit more inconvenient, and it takes a little while for those areas to kind of like hit the actual account it needs to be in. Now I got to send all these documents and all that stuff. But long story short, this could potentially have put this deal at risk if I didn't have that fortress built up and other areas that I can pull funds from to make it happen. Is it ideal? No, but at least we can still make that deal happen. And then when this one closes a couple weeks from now, I can replenish the places that I'm pulling from to make it happen. So word of the day is to continue building your fortress, right? Early on, it makes sense to put kind of all your eggs in the basket. But as you start to get more income, get more wealth, do better at work, things of that nature, you should start to diversify where you're putting those funds. And as much as you can, try to automate it so that you can be pleasantly surprised that, hey, I got to pull 80K and I tend to have it, right? Just need to pull it from a couple of different places. So that's the word of the day. But we are going to kick this session off and kind of open it up to you guys and make this an open session. So if anybody wants to join or throw any questions in the chat, please feel free to join the live talk and or to submit any questions in the chat. Okay, I see one, rules on finding a good deal. Okay, so this is a good one. So there's some rules of thumb, right? And I like rules of thumb for one reason. One, it allows you to look at a bunch of deals and kind of weed some of them out very quickly. So you're not stuck on, oh man, aesthetically, this looks beautiful. You can see pretty quickly, hey, did the numbers work? Are they even close? If it's not, let's move on. And so I like the 1% rule when it comes to long-term rentals, which is very tough to do in Georgia. You've got to get multiple units and they may need some work to be able to make something like that work for the 1% rule for long-term rentals. And then for short-term rentals, I like the 15% rule. Meaning if you plug a short-term rental into AirDNA and it comes out as 15% of the purchase price, that's usually a deal that's going to work. So we can move forward and try to put it under contract. And then from there, be able to run the more detailed numbers, plug in your cleaning fees, plug in electric, internet, things of that nature. What I've seen happen a lot of times is individuals will get stuck on trying to go into the microscopic details and trying to run like all the numbers for a property. And by the time they finish, the property's gone, right? And so you want to use, at least in my mind, some of those rules of thumb to understand, okay, does this look like it'll work? Let's see if we can get it under contract. And now with the contract numbers, let's go microscopic on it. But Darius, welcome, man. How you doing? That is good. I can hear you, and I'm assuming you're not calling from your studio right now, from the studio that you got set up. Nice. Hey, come on now. We all want to be like you one day. That's good. Hey, you take it one day at a time, but I'm pumped for you. And Kwame, welcome to your first Financial Freedom Mastermind group. And Kwame, you may be on mute. We'll give him a second. But Darius, what you got, man? What else are you working on? Yeah, no, and this is a good problem to have. First and foremost, congrats on the 1 month booking. I mean, that's awesome right out the gates to see like, okay, got some cash coming into my pocket. Then also getting those 6 month, furnished finder pieces, people reaching out and saying, hey, this price point and this location work. It's always exciting. We've gotten a couple of those and been able to kind of lease those up. But you're running into the issue that we tend to run into too, which is the timing. Like, does it match up? Because typically they're trying to get people in quickly. Like, they want to get somebody in next week. And does it make sense for that family? Are they able to go somewhere and then come to your crib afterwards? Or are they going to try to seek alternative options? And so it gets a little difficult. If you're able to lock something in, it may even make sense to try to work something out with the current guest where you like, hey, I'm going to give you back X amount. If you're able to find somewhere, because that 6 month is kind of the ideal booking. And I mean, that 2 week period, it may make sense. 2-3 week period, it may make sense. But we could talk about that more. But to your point, you're talking about the leasing. So anytime somebody stays in a place over 30 days, right, they're considered a quote unquote tenant. And so they do get the tenant landlord laws. Thankfully, Georgia is a more landlord friendly state. That being said, you can still have to evict somebody and things of that nature if it gets to that point. And so what we tend to do with those longer term rentals, like, the 6 months, things of that nature, is we will start to actually run the credit and background check. And then we will put them onto a property management software like a Buildium or a Zillow rent manager, something that's, free or low cost, and have it as a reoccurring payment. And we'll also take a security deposit, right? Because this is somebody that is going to be there for a significant amount of time. Unless they're trying to book it through the platform. If they want to book it through the platform and pay those extra fees, sure, we'll take that. And we got the liability protection from Airbnb. But typically they're looking at it and saying, hey, this is kind of a lot. You may actually be able to make more off platform. The main thing is getting the phone number or the email, which you may have access to now, of that person and talking through it with them. And if it's from Furnish Finder, then I'd be looking to a lease agreement, and I can help you with some templates for Georgia leases. But the key to this is a couple things. One, if you're going to do a lease agreement, you want to make sure you do the credit and background checks, and you make sure like you know exactly where the funds are coming from. It sounds like it may be an insurance claim potentially. Okay, so the insurance, but you still want to know that the person's not like convicted, whatever, right? To make sure you're going to be safe from that standpoint. And you do want to get security deposit on hand. And one thing that I would also put in there is a clause where if they break early for any reason, right, that you get, to keep the security deposit, or they have to give you a 30-day notice and you keep X amount, just so you're protected from that standpoint as well. Any other thoughts on that, Kwame? I know you got a couple long-term rentals. How would you handle that? No, hey, and that's fair. And keep your head up. Literally, this is kind of like a session where we can all kind of hold each other up as well. I feel your pain, literally, because the deal that I was supposed to sell, literally today in Louisville, fell apart last minute because the person like accepted gift funds. You're not supposed to do that on an investment property. Like they did the cardinal sin, and they were buying it from like Scotland. It was a whole thing. But long story short, it fell apart literally 24 hours before closing. And so that was the funds supposed to be used for the 4 unit. And now I got to kind of pull a bunch of money from places I didn't want to pull to kind of make it happen. So I feel your pain. I feel your pain, man. It's all going to be good. There'll be more opportunities. Mm-hmm. And you're focusing primarily just for everybody else. And we usually do this. When somebody jumps on for the first time, we usually ask, hey, what are you investing in? Kind of what's your portfolio look like? Do you mind sharing with the rest of the group kind of where that deal was and areas you're focused in? Love it, man. Love it. And welcome to the group. Hey, come on now. We're going to make it happen. We are going to make it happen. Of course. Of course. And Levon, welcome, man. I think this is the first time you've joined
Yes.
like actually live.
Yeah, it is.
So
It's my
we're
first
gonna
live
put you
one.
on the spot too, man. Like, hey, what does your whole career look like? What are you looking to do here? What are you looking to learn? What are you looking to teach, man?
Yeah, so hi, my name's Lee Bon. I'm pretty sure I know everyone here except for Kwame. Nice to meet you. I'm an agent. I work with NIE. My goal is to get Unit 1 this year, get started, and then, hopefully go from there. Just trying to get like y'all.
Hey, come on now. I love it. I love it. I love it. Liban, welcome. And Desmond, one of the old guards, man. Welcome back.
What's up, man? How's it going? Can y'all hear me all right?
We can hear you.
All right, cool, man. I'm reporting from the arbitrage, man.
That's what I was about to say. So is it official or what?
Man, we out here, dude.
Wow.
We out here. So yeah, I signed the lease June 1st, right? And it's a 3-bed, 3-bath on the west end of town. And doing the arbitrage method, right? But specifically even past that, doing rent by the room. So trying out a whole bunch of new stuff. And the reason I'm planning on doing that is because it's a crazy kind of setup they got going, but every bedroom has an in-suite bathroom, which is super nice. And then also there are a lot of pieces of furniture that came with the place. Say what's up. A lot of furniture, so like chairs. I'll peek in here really quick, like a little mattress, beds, and desk and whatnot. So a bunch of furniture came with it, which is going to be super helpful. And I'm saving a ton of money on the setup cost because of that. And man, when I heard 3-bed, 3-bath, 1,800, some pieces of furniture, and I was like, what do I sign? So I really didn't even, like, I ran the numbers, right? And it's projected to do, I think, around 32, which is solid, right? So hopefully it'll be able to, meet those expectations. But yeah, I'm hoping to do well. We'll see. I'll keep y'all updated for sure. Hopefully the first room will go live, if not this weekend, very soon next week. I'm not doing what I did, the first time where I was getting the grass manicured, or, I'm keeping the grass together, but I'm not doing everything, possible to, get it set up. I'm kind of doing what we need to start getting this cash coming in, right? Especially because I'm on the hook for this lease. So with my own, fourplex, it was a little different. Like I could kind of get away with, waiting a month or so, or like I felt a little more okay with it. Cause I'm like, oh, that's just equity, right? Like I'm still like building money regardless, right? I don't know. But here it's like, no, like that's cash. I got to put up like out of my pocket like every day, right? So yeah, hopefully it'll be up live first room here soon. I'll let y'all know.
Nice. So first off, love that you're doing this. Love the fact that you are taking the skills that you learned from doing 2 of them with the fourplex and now transitioning over to, more cash flow heavy kind of arbitrage model. I know a lot of people, and I talk to so many people on a weekly basis that are looking to get into something like this. I know there's probably going to be a bunch of questions from the rest of the group on like, hey, how'd you make this work? What are the numbers going to look like? You kind of shared a little bit of that. But my question's around the rent by the room. So when you talk about rent by the room, are you looking for long-term lease, rent by the room, midterm rental, or are you going to short-term rent like by the room?
So the idea is going to be to do mostly short-term. And I've done a fair amount of kind of comparisons, like looking on Furnished Finder, at least for the 1-bedroom, 1-bath that I have. And I've just seen that you can get more, by the month and like on the nightly rate when you're doing the short term, at least what I've seen. So plans to do short term and we'll see how it goes. But I also want to make it available for the entire place to be booked if a family or if someone wants to do that, right? So that's going to be a bit interesting because like I'm going to have cabinets labeled, right, for each room and like certain stuff like that where when you book the whole unit, it'll kind of be apparent that it is like a rent by the room, right? The lighting's a little weird, but I think that'll be okay. And it's not going to be too big of a deal. There's a washer dryer hookup. So I think I'm probably going to put a washer and dryer in. Hopefully I can get those cheap. But I think that'll really help me attract, if I need to, midterm guests. 'Cause I know a lot of times that's what they look for. Even like bigger families coming in for a week, I know like that'll attract them too. So yeah.
I think that's a good segue to the question that you had earlier around appreciation versus cash flow. The Bankhead area, T.I., Killer Mike, and a lot of others have been investing heavily over there. It's still a little rough. It's still a little street by street, but they've been investing heavily over there. And you can see some of the benefit just in the West End in general, right? Like earlier this year, I was looking at a house hack personally that was literally 10 feet off the belt line, still a little bit rougher neighborhood, but the house was immaculate. It was beautiful. It just didn't sit long enough for my taxes to get done to go after it. So I still got a little bit of heartache, which you could probably hear right now. But but that's an area that's rapidly kind of improving. If you look at what happened on the East Side Beltline, I mean, East Atlanta used to be what Gucci, Future, all these guys rapped about, like, hey, East Atlanta Center, all that stuff. And now East Atlanta has a couple $1 million homes. You know, my neighbor just built a house right next door. His house is worth $1 million, right? Which is crazy to me. So those are some areas that are fully developed, right? And that's where you're looking more for appreciation now. I can tell you like Edgewood, Kirkwood, Buckhead, obviously, right? These are all appreciation plays. If you're looking for like cash flow, though, you want to go to more up and coming neighborhoods, like, you know, the Pittsburghs of the world. I'm personally big on Decatur and Marietta, just because they're near, like Decatur's right near getting to Midtown and all that stuff. It's just outside East Atlanta, but it's so big that there's still ways that you can get into properties for 300, 400, 450 that make sense from a numbers perspective. And I like Marietta because it's only like 15 minutes to the Battery, but you're not getting the Smyrna and Vinings prices where it's like 600K to get a townhome, right? Out there. And so those are a couple areas that I like, but would love to hear everybody else areas that you'd like as well.
To add to his point, where I currently live, Stone Mountain is really good. And Stone Mountain actually had the most iBuyer activity. And actually, funnily enough, compared the condo I'm currently sitting in last year, or I guess 2 years ago now, my mom bought it for $70,000. This house is now worth $155,000, and it's sold. And the reason I can say that is because 3 condos in the neighborhood sold for $150,000, $155,000, $152,000, all in like the last 3 months. So I think, to Nee's point, it's very close to Decatur. It's very close to Tucker. So because you're right outside of that 285, you can kind of jump on 285 and kind of go into Atlanta. You can go up to Norcross. You can go to Gwinnett. So all those areas, I guess, anywhere that has easy highway access and is still like very much low pricing, I'd say are good areas for appreciation.
One of the things you just mentioned, Liban, too, is like condos, right? Help the client. It's been early or maybe it's been probably 2 years now, but help the client close on a condo in Stone Mountain for like 100K, maybe a year and a half ago. And those still work for long-term rentals. Like condos actually work. You can rent those for maybe $1,200, things of that nature. It's just the appreciation was the piece that I always questioned. But what you're talking about, that's amazing, right? To go, a little bit over double. I'll take that all day.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's insane. And I mean, the HOA too, I think this specific HOA does a particularly good job at managing, because you can tell that they have a rental restriction in this neighborhood, but you can get on the wait list. And I called and they said that an investor's been on for a year. So that goes to show how no one wants to sell in this area, So, I mean, that's also a good point.
Yeah. And that's one piece to kind of watch out for. I was actually helping another one of our clients look for a house hack, and they were looking in the Alpharetta area because they like that spot. I mean, Alpharetta's nice. Mm-hmm. And most of the houses up there have HOAs. And so we had one under contract for maybe 8 hours, right? We started calling the HOA and kind of getting more details, and it was strict as anything. It was like, hey, only 10% could be rentals. The wait list was crazy. Nobody was selling the ones that had it as rentals, but it was a home that had an in-law suite. But the only way it would make sense is if they lived there, right? And then when they moved out, which they were planning to do and do this once a year, it would not make sense anymore because you could not rent out the whole unit without that permit. And it's only 10% of 115 homes. So you really got to watch out with those HOAs as well, and make sure that if you get one under contract, you have a good due diligence and you're making, a lot of calls to the HOA, to different individuals to make sure, hey, is this going to work when I move out? Or is this going to work as an investment period? Like the one that we're working on, right? I think that's a good deal because it's more some cosmetic updates, a couple items that we negotiated for, and you're able to, walk into some equity. But, in other neighborhoods, you can get a deal. I've seen houses that are for 100, 150, but it's a full gut rehab, right? It's like, hey, You've got to take this down to the studs. There's probably some foundation issues. And so the first question I'm always asking, because everybody's always like, hey, let me find a deal. Let me find a deal. It's like, hey, what is your comfort level with the repairs? We got to get to that point. And are you open to sinking some money into this for, 6 months to do all these updates, with no certain future of that end goal, right? For me personally, I'm looking more at like cosmetic updates where no, it may not cash flow initially. And this is for my personal portfolio. But if I make some of these updates and I boost the rents or it's undermanaged, something of that nature, I'm going to be able to kind of capitalize in the back end. And so like that fourplex in Snellville, right? I put it under contract for 875. The appraisal came back at 801. So we negotiated that piece down, had to give back some credits, but we negotiated down. So now it's at 800. But the rents across the board are an average of 1,500 a unit. That's $6,000. That doesn't actually make sense with the lending that I have, right? It's barely break even, right? I may actually have to put some money in initially. But what I plan to do is update one of the units, turn that into a short-term rental to kind of make up for it while the other units are waiting for the lease to end. And the reason I sought this deal out is it's huge. 2, it's in Gwinnett County, which is one of the best school districts. And 3, it's under rented. The people that purchased that house bought it for 120 in 2010. And so they haven't had the pressure to raise the rent, right? Now they had to fix it up, but 120 and you're going to walk away with, $700K. That's not bad, right? And it kind of keeps you focused on continuing to invest. But long story short, the reason it's under rented and the median rent for the area is 2,100 now, right? So they're 600 below on average. But the reason it's under rented is because they didn't feel the pressure to move it up because they're like, hey, we've had the same tenants, literally had a tenant since 2011, tenant since 2015. They're chilling, right? So we're going to change that piece, kind of raise the rents. And once we get it to the 2,100 across the board, because we're getting it at 801 now, 2,100 times 4 is 8,400. That's over the 1% rule. That makes a lot of sense, especially if you short-term rent one or two of them. So you got to kind of, that's how I look at it because the unit's good itself, the foundation's good, all that stuff is good, roof's good. It's just, updating some kitchens, bathrooms, and I got the quotes kind of ready to go now. You can definitely walk into some deals, but you've got to do one of two things. One, you've either got to go for a bigger deal, right? Where there's more units to kind of spread it out, right? So like the fourplex allows you to get each of these for 200K. And if you're renting it out for 2,100 a piece, it makes sense, right? Or you've got to get a little more active, right? In Metro Atlanta and kind of the surrounding cities, it's getting more and more difficult to walk into a long-term deal that will make sense because people know what they have. When they list these things, if it's not a value add, they're listing it, pretty high, and you've got to come in ready to rock because there's other people bidding on it. And so you've got to use a different strategy like short-term and mid-term rental, which we've talked about ad nauseum. For example, the duplex in Smyrna was going for 580. I put in a bid at like 610 with a lot of credits toward closing, and I lost, right? But as a long-term rental, that deal would not work. As a long-term rental, I think the numbers, if I remember correctly, was like 1,600, something like that. So that makes no sense. I was looking at it as short-term, and then over time being able to move that over to a long-term. And the thing that I always keep in mind is the rents don't typically go down over time. It goes up over time. And so like when I look at this single family I purchased in EAV in 2021, when I bought it, that single family I bought for 460 would rent as a long-term for 2,700 a month, which makes no sense, right? I'd be paying out of pocket every month, but I've been short-term renting it, which gives me cash flow. Now it's gone up in value. It's worth 575 now. And if I wanted to long-term rent it, in the past 2 years, it's gone from that 2,700 to now I can get 3,300. That's not bad. Still not the best, but if that number gets up to 35, 3,800, it may be worth moving it over. But initially, I could not do it as a long term. I had to do short term. So you can walk into a deal, but you may have to be more active short term, mid term to make it work.
And I was going to mention that too. Well, sorry, you were asking about like what areas you were interested in or just, some that might do well. I'm kind of bullish on any street in Atlanta right now where I could find an arbitrage and get it before they start enforcing this ordinance that they've been debating for like a year or so now. So now I've started to plug into that conversation, and I was doing a ton of research, and I know you had sent out some stuff as well because now I'm like, in the Atlanta short-term market. So I'm trying to understand. At first I was trying to see, did that affect me? And I think with the current rules it would, but like they're not enforcing it at the moment, as I understand it, because they're still kind of debating the provisions. And I don't think they've enforced it since its creation, right? So I think I'm kind of good to hold off on the permit if they're not enforcing it right now, at least until they kind of make those final changes. And then once they do, get it right, because as they have it right now, I think a lot of people are in the same boat, right? Like I wouldn't be eligible because I don't live in Atlanta. Now I could probably make this my primary residence. My name's on a lease. Like, what does primary residence really mean, right? But yeah, so that's something I plugged into, and anyone, I'd be curious to know, has this affected y'all, or like, has this? I know you mentioned on one of the previous episodes that you're trying to snatch up some right now as well before they kind of kick this into gear. And I'm curious to know, do we have any like update on that? Have they made any advancements on when they're going to enforce that, or when that's going to start affecting folks? Because I'm trying to snatch up as many as I can. Like now, realizing this more and more, right? So yeah.
No, and that's solid. And to that point, you're bringing up some really good points. So ATL is where I was focused on initially, trying to find something like duplex, triplex. I mean, Desmond, I think you got the last solid fourplex out here, and I'm happy for you. But dang it, I wish I could have one in here. But long story short, you're 100% right. So the initial rules that came out that were supposed to start being enforced in March of last year were stating that, hey, you had to be an owner occupant, right? It could be your primary and you could have one more, but you had to live within the city of Atlanta. But there's been a lot of legal backlash around the country for cities trying to do that. I can tell you that New Orleans released that same law, like very similar, in 2019. They got a bunch of lawsuits against them. It was taken to a higher court, superior court, and the city of New Orleans lost that battle because let's just change up the terms, right? Let's say, hey, if you don't live in the city of Atlanta, you can't rent a long-term, right? You can't have a long-term rental unless you live here. That wouldn't make any sense. There's so many people from all over the country that do this. And so you can make laws around restricting the number of units and things of that nature, but it's got to be a fair ground. It can't just be that you live here. And so they've actually struck that portion out of their proposed plans now. And that just happened earlier this year because they keep pushing it back. To your point, it has not been enforced. It still is not enforced. I would still recommend going through the application process just to get it. I've gotten the ones that I have within city limits permitted, and we've gotten our owners permitted. I can tell you, you just reminded me, I sent in the message because I did the whole renewal thing, and they're still trying to figure it out within the office how to actually like say like, okay, he's completed it and you're renewed, and I need to follow up on that. So it's not being enforced. They don't have enough bodies to actually like get it done. I can tell you there's about 10,000 or so B&Bs operating within the city, and only 1,700 have been permitted. And so they're trying to figure out a way to get to the end here, but a lot of people are lobbying. And right now what they have proposed is that you no longer have to be an owner occupant. If you have a B&B up and running when they release and start enforcing this, you'll get grandfathered in. But then anybody else, you'll not be able to get a B&B within 2,000 feet of another one, which is huge. And so hopefully they change that piece too, because 2,000 feet is kind of excessive. That means like for 3 blocks, basically, you can't have another one. But that's what they got proposed right now.
And you mentioned, I'm trying to think. So you said if you have a B&B up and running, is that a permanent B&B? Yeah, right? Because
they haven't made it clear.
Okay. Because
I know you mentioned
the grandfathered in. So I'm wondering, like, should I go ahead and get that permit so I can potentially avoid stricter regulations in the future and then try to be grandfathered in? And even now, I mean, it's kind of crazy. Like, I looked at the restrictions because I thought about applying, like, oh, like, it won't be too tough, but like they want a good amount of things for you to they want some hoops for you to jump through, right? It was like you have to get the deed from the owner. I think that was the piece that I found as like ridiculous. And especially like doing an arbitrage, me going to the landlord and say, hey, like, could you send me a copy of the deed? Like, I don't know how that's going to go over. So that is one I wanted to kind of wait and see. Hey, are they going to take that out? Because like, that seems kind of absurd. I read some articles too that they were mentioning like some of the rules are kind of absurd. So I want to see if they change that, because especially just now starting this lease, I don't want to go to my landlord 6 days in, hey, like, can I see your deed? And like, let's go change the, lease too. Because like Atlanta doesn't like that. Right. So I don't want to do that right now, but still I'm bullish on snatching up these B&Bs because I know they're coming with the rules. So yeah.
Oh yeah. With the arbitrage right now, I think you're good. I think you got the right line of thinking. Just continue kind of doing what you're doing. That's kind of what I would do. But if you quote unquote own a home within city limits, I would go ahead and go through the application process, at least to have like the paper trail of doing it. I can tell you that when I was going through it, it is a heck of a lot. You've got to send like letters to the neighbors that are certified, then upload that.
I'm doing
Full
all that.
transparency, it's a lot. It's a lot. In full transparency, I got lucky because I started doing it immediately. It was like February last year when they were talking about it. And I called into the office and I got somebody's personal number. I don't even know if he still works in the office anymore. But I was calling him like, hey, man, can I just send this directly to you? Could you help me out? And so they were able to kind of expedite some stuff. And, so yeah, they're trying to figure it out. That office is made up of like 3 or 4 people that are trying to work through all these applications. And they're not doing a good job so far.
And on that flip side too, I'm also bullish in the same vein on B&Bs outside of Atlanta, because as the restrictions get tougher, folks are going to all have the same idea. Oh, well, I'll just get one right outside of Atlanta, right? And, I'll just be right on the outskirt and outsmart them, right? But then I feel like other counties, and I'm scared, I'm in College Park right now, that's where my primary house is. I'm scared College Park is going to take notes from East Point and try to start putting in a permitting process. So I want to snatch up some there. I want to snatch up some everywhere, right? Basically is what it boils down to because it seems like we're slowly moving around the country, and especially in Atlanta and in Georgia, toward a stricter market, right? So if you can get grandfathered into that, I feel like that's like definitely to your benefit. So yeah.
Agreed. Because now people are used to staying in B&Bs. Like even when I book anything that's more than just myself, right? If it's 2, 3 people, I'm looking at B&Bs and VRBOs first. And so, yeah, the whole thing is not many people, as you can see, only 1,700 have been approved and 10,000 B&Bs operating in the city. Not many people are going to go through all those loops and are not professional with it to actually go and get those kind of permits and things of that nature. And so if they do release something in College Park, I would recommend going after it, just because you're going to be one of the few that will go through all these hoops and send out the letters and everything. And when you do get permitted, you're going to be one of the last ones remaining, hopefully. So I'm actually excited about some of this regulation, and I want to be able to get as many as I can. And to your point, people going a little further and further outside the city, when I looked at the B&B numbers for Snellville, it's not that great. But it's not that great because there's not a lot of comps to pull from, right? And so I'm actually pumped about it because I'm like, man, if we put something nice together, we've done enough of these. Like I get surprised about certain areas. Like we got one that we manage out in Riverdale, some that we manage out in Peachtree Corners, Lithonia, that are crushing it. It's like, why are people staying out here? But you never know. So that one up in Snellville, I'm excited about trying to set the market for that one up there just by putting together a nice product.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way, like with the projections too, right? Because like, you don't want to like try to guess too much or like think, too much. But like sometimes I look at the projection, I'm like, is that really right? Like, if I put together a quality product, right, which I try to do, being a host, can I beat that, right? And now I'm not basing my, decisions off that necessarily, right? I still want the numbers to make sense based off the projections. And the projections I do are super simple. Like I don't even know if I would call it like legit projections, to be honest. I don't have like an AirDNA subscription. I don't have like fancy spreadsheets. I just found like the Airbnb Bigger Pockets calculator, and that's based off of AirDNA data. And I've just used that literally for pretty much my fourplex and then this property here. And, it doesn't show me like all the graphs and all like the history and whatnot. But I really just need like a ballpark idea of like, can I maybe make cash flow with this? And that's the nice thing too about the arbitrage is like, if I'm not making cash, I mean, the lease is going to be up in 12 months. Push comes to shove. I don't want to do this, but like I'll back out of my lease for, my lease is 1,800. I'd pay 3,600 right now to not lose, 10 grand over the year. So, that's kind of where I see it. But yeah.
What you mentioned is kind of cool. And it's one that you get by just getting in the market. You have to, I talk to people about this all the time. You've got to just get that first deal under your belt and then just continue to try to buy and do deals consistently, because you start to get a feel. Like you don't actually need to go fully through it. Yeah, you should, right? The numbers should, especially for the first one. For the first one, I'm always trying to steer people toward like, hey, let's make sure the numbers work out. and point to the data. So it's not like, hey, he told me this. It's like, no. This is what the data said, right? Let's look at the data. This deal on paper doesn't work, but if you want to move forward, we could do that. But I wouldn't recommend it, right? That's for initial people. But once you kind of get a feel for it and you understand, okay, you can actually adjust this, you can impact this with how you're hosting, things of that nature. Yeah, you can take a little bit of a leap of faith. There's not as much data around there and say, okay, I think I can beat this by, plus 5%, things of that nature. All right, guys. Hey, have a good night. We'll catch you later and go Heat.
Yeah. Hey.